morning and welcome back to Plannercraft. I'm Natalie and today we are going to be doing a little bit of foiling. I'm just looking at that picture and thinking it looks a little dark, so let's put a bit of light on the situation. It's good, isn't it? It's awesome and still having to use a secondary light. Okay, so what have I got so far? I've got the foil shield with the 8x8 frame inserted. How's that foil shield? Naughty Natty, craft shield. New one. And we have two pieces of DL card that I've put into the frame, and this is just fairly thick white card, nothing super duper fancy. Okay, so even if you don't have any watercolour paper at home, you'll be able to do this one. And I have sitting to one side another cup of foil. Doesn't matter if it's already been used, as you can see that this one has, because we're going to use that to our benefit. And obviously the more it has been used, the more it's going to be kind of worn down. So without too much further ado, now I will say I'm not seeing your chat, so just in case it's not reading through correctly, I will go back after and just check for any questions. If you have anything that you do want to ask, there we go. So hi Linda, there we go. So he's coming through. We've had to change the setup for the streaming a little bit, so it's good to know that it is working. So I'm using a 12 by 18 inch mat. So while I could use a background scan with this particular mat, we don't have to worry about it dropping out. So I've already imported my design. So let's see, if we go to our close-up view. There we go. I've imported Flower 16 from the Kelly Creates Beyond Memory Keeper's USB. Okay, now I've done that ahead of time because it takes a little bit of time for this one to load because it's quite complex. I thought it would be really cool to show the differences between the four techniques. So before I go too far, I want to make sure that I have everything in a group. So we're going to go into multi-select and select all, and we can see that everything has different bounding boxes and things, so we know then that we need to group it. So we're going to go into object edit and then we can group those. So that locks everything together into one shape that we can move around the map nice and easily. Now I can see from what's in front of me that I need to be around 2¼ inches down and about just over 2 inches in this left hand edge. Okay, my join in my DLs is just below the 6-inch mark, so I kind of get a rough centre. I'm going to pop on there. Okay, now to try and save time, I'm also going to do another copy of that. So we can go into number and we can say that we want 2, and we're going to get a second copy. Now we could put that up here if we wanted to, so that we get it all onto one piece of card, or if you want to separate them out into 2 pieces of card, and then put that there. Okay, so I think I'm going to go that way around, because then I want to also show you about foiling after we've watercoloured too, for some different effects. So again, I'm just going to move that down like so, and that should be pretty good. So just check it against the measurements on your mat, so it's really useful to have that grid on the screen. So we can go okay at this point. Now, because it's an SVG that we've imported into our machine, the lines are cut and draw lines, so that's just something to bear in mind. Don't let your tape catch your foil. And I'm going to go across page, I think. Let's go this way. So you don't have to have a perfect sheet of foil for this technique. So if you've got one where you've got bits missing out of it, that's okay. I'm going to take that down to the bottom of my shield, like so. That should be more than sufficient. So let's just see if I can show you it. There's always one that won't stop much working. Bear with me 1 moment. Let me just remind us where it's supposed to be looking at. There we go. Let's just get that transform sorted, and then you can see what I'm doing. Do a bit better. So, and then we need to rotate it this way. There we go. Just so we can see that bigger. Okay. So you can see this foil placement. So we've got our foil stuck to our shield. And good to go. Oh, that's a bit weird that the volume's struggling. Okay, I think we're up pretty much max here, which is a bit annoying. How's that working? Hopefully you can hear me a bit better now. Still looks really quiet. Let me see if I can just change settings. As I said, we're having to do things a little differently, so it's all a bit up in the air. Let me have a look. Sound. Not got textbook here either today. Okay. It's all on me. That's probably not helping. There we go. Hopefully you can hear me a bit better now. Maybe. Can you hear me? Blah, blah, blah. Yep, looks all right. That looks a bit more like it. Goodness knows why these things change, but you know, updates, what can I say? So, there we go. I'll zoom in a bit. So you can see that there are parts of this foil where it's going to touch our design, but I'm not too bothered because I want to have something that's a bit looser. It's also a good way of using up your offcuts. Now, next thing to state is make sure that you have your tape stuck down. So particularly if you're using like secondary tape like we are here, just give it a good press round those edges wherever possible. Okay. And because I'm working with a large mat, I'm going to try and support it from underneath too. Now let's do a bit of prep. So I need my battery pack, and I need one of the foil quills. So let's decide which one. I want to go for something that is going to put down a good matte foil, so I think I'm going to go for the bold, just so that you can see it nice and easily on the stream. And I'm going to pop that into the USB port on my battery pack. And at this point it's going to start getting warm, so it's not super duper quick, but you want to make sure that it gets a good bit of time before you start foiling so that you know that it is prepped. So if you want to do this before you put your design on the mat, then you can do, because you're not going to have to sort out Streamlabs in the middle. Hi Deb! And of course, hi Mom. Sorry, I didn't say hi, did I? Oh dear. So, we've got our two designs on our mat, and I think we can probably go at that. So I'm going to go OK. And then I'm going to go OK again. Please select draw. So even though we're foiling, we want to use that draw function when we're using our foil quill. And then we need to change our settings. Now, I was doing some drawing onto fabric, so my pressure at the moment for my drawing is right down to prevent it snagging on that fabric. In terms of pressure for your foil quills, however, with your bolt tip, I usually use it around -2, the standard at -4, and the fine at -6. It's just where they seem to each find their place of getting the right amount of transfer and the right amount of pressure. Okay, so then we can go OK. Another thing to mention just before I start is I've got my speed on 1. So you're giving that tip plenty of time to transfer that heat through the foil along with the pressure to actually make that foil transfer. So if you're having issues where you're not getting a good transfer with your foil quill, it could be that you haven't preheated it long enough. It can be that you're drawing too fast, or that your pressure isn't right. So if you test each one of those in turn, you should eventually pick up where you're kind of having that issue. Okay, so let's start that going. And I've got mine in a 3D fun prints holder, so it's just going to come up saying attach appropriate holder. That's okay. And just type start again and it will ignore that. Now, you want to be mindful of the cable. So, in some instances I use a cable tidy. 3D fun prints do one that sticks to your machine. It's very handy. And can you believe we still not got all the studio set up yet? But we have some really fun things to be showing you over the next few weeks. And then we'll give you a tour when it's all done. Okay, so you can see it's going to take about 13 minutes. Now, this is one of those things that you can't just go pause and speed up, okay? Just because of the time that it takes to transfer that foil. But what I will do is let it draw 1, I'll pause it, lift that off, pop another piece of card just underneath just so it doesn't damage the mat. And then you'll be able to watch me do a little bit of watercolour before the other one's finished. Now, I'm not expecting you to sit and watch that go for 13 minutes, as relaxing as it would be. So you may have noticed that last week's traditional Thursday didn't go up as planned. Lucy's still working on that. We have something that's really fun that we're going to introduce you to. I've kind of given little hints as to what it could be, but we're hoping to get those onto the store soon. So any questions or issues that you are having at the moment that I can cover just while it's doing this first bit of foiling? No, paper piece of card ready to swap in. So I've been working with the rotary blade that you will probably have seen over for Textile Tuesday over on the blog. And at the end of that blog at the moment you see that I have all the pieces cut. Well, I've now stitched those all together, and then I've just got a few bits to finish on the bag, and then I will pop up a little update video as well so you can see that, and that's probably going to go up next Tuesday. It didn't work out too bad so far, did it, Linda? So Linda's been seeing sneak peeks. Okay, so while that's just finishing off, let me move the rest of these foil quilts out. Okay. And I'm going to work today with the Line and Wash paint set from Derwent. So this gives me a good range of natural colours, and I'm also going to use some nice watercolour brushes. So I've got a few different sizes that we're going to work with. Want something a bit bigger. Yeah, the sneak peeks are cool. Okay. Every time you think there's not much more it could do, yeah, it comes back with something and does something else. Come on. They are fascinating to watch though, if you think about what's going into being able to put that design down onto that paper. It's quite a feat of programming, really. Okay, so I'm going to pause it there, and let's go on quick drawing for a minute. Okay, so I'm just going to pop my quilt out of the machine while I'm doing this next bit, because we don't want to be leaving our quilt active for any longer than it has to be in our machine. Okay, and I'm going to peel away our card. So And there we go. You can just see that we've got that kind of, oh, that's weird. I'm going to work back to front. Okay, so let's pop on my little spare bit of card. Just to kind of do a little bit of a protection for our mat. Now, I'm going to go back. I'm going to take that first copy, edit and bin it. Okay. Then we can carry on foiling the next section. And I'll use the same settings because they worked well. Pop the foil quill back in. Okay. There we go. So, back to overhead. So, we've got our piece of card with our foil design on. And now we want to make that kind of pop out. So I'm going to start off with a bigger brush. And I'm going to make that nice and damp. So let's pick up a bit of this green colour. And I'm just going to start by just taking that over the top of our foil. And you're going to notice I'm not going very careful here. And the reason being, our foil is going to act as a resist. So let's pick up a slightly different shade of green. So this one's part of the Graffy tint that's in the same collection. I'm just going to blend that first colour to our second. A bit more water, a bit more green. And we can start to go a bit deeper. And we're going to start just doing some little dots just to add touches of shading. Okay. A bit more water. Pick up just a little bit more of that bluey green. A bit more water. And we're going to pick up some more of that yellowy green and just let that blend. Now you want your water to kind of go outside of your design. You also don't want to let the paint sit too long on the foil, just so that you do get the benefit of that resist. Okay, so if there's a bit that's particularly blobby, just kind of pull it away from your foil. Like so, and you're going to get more of a resist. Like so. So in this bit here we've got like 2 little leaves that sit at the bottom of our design, so we can carry that through to there. Okay, so we're going to give that a little bit of a wash out. And at this point, if there's anything you just want to just pull back the colour on, you're just going to tap it over the top. Now, with some of the bits, I don't mind that it's like a little bit darker. So if I bring this up, focus, there we go. See, now you can see that our foil element is actually popping back through our watercolour. So let's finish this off. So I'm thinking a nice bluey, purpley flower over here would be quite nice. So I'm going to start off with some blue. And let's just drop in a little bit of red. Don't have to use a lot because our blue is so soft that it's going to kind of be overpowered very easily. There we go. So I'm going to clean my brush, blot it off so we've got next to no water on there, and we're just going to go back over the top of our foil just to pick that out so we don't lose that detail. Now, these paints that I'm using, some of them are graphic and some of them are Inktenses. The Inktense ones in particular, you want to do this before it dries too much because they are permanent. So if you don't do it quite quick enough, you're going to lose some of that detailing. Now there's little dots around the outside here, so I'm just going to go over the top just so I don't miss anything. I'm going to blend that back into that green over here, and then do a green here as well. So we kind of get little hints of that purple. And there we go. I'm just going to soften that edge out. Okay, now this side we've got kind of a little dandelion effect. So this time I'm going to go to probably more of the brownie palette. So I've got a little bit of colour on my brush. So I'm just going to start in the centre and then we can work outwards. We can always add in more pigment, but it's much harder to take it away. So do a little, and you're going to notice I'm turning my work inside of my brush to a large extent. Let's pick up a little bit more. So back into the centre again. Okay. Oh, there we go. We've got something that is really quite soft, but we've still got our detail because we've done that foil. So hopefully that's coming across better than what is on my screen, but if not, I will take a photo after. So I think just to kind of finish off this section here, I'm just going to go back into that initial yellow green and just soften that and blend it out, so we kind of give it a little bit of a setting. There we go. And we can let that dry. Now over here, I'm going to do another bit of a technique, but because I'm going to use the same design, I'm going to use this side as a bit of a guide. So just as that stopped, I'm going to take that out and unplug it from the battery pack and just let that cool somewhere safe. So I'm just going to hook it over my camera mount, as you do. So it's suspended, not touching anything. Okay, so this time let's go a bit stronger because we're going to be working with our foil over the top. So I'm going to pop a little bit of water on, and this is where I roughly want to put my flower that we did over here. So I'm going to drop in some red, and let's go to the mango side of things, which is this nice orangey colour, but as it blends out it'll do some nice peachy tones too. So I think that's about there. Okay, so I'm just going to clean my brush out, give it a little blot, and then we can just soften these edges here. Okay, so then we've got our kind of like dandelion round about there. So again, I'm going to drop in some water. It's almost easier to do that with a bit of a dirty brush, but I'm just going to pop some colour into the centre. So I'm going to go a bit stronger this time. Pick some up of this green. Bit of the yellow green around the outside here. Okay. And then up for this middle bit, I'm just going to do another load of water. Pick up this green and we're going to go dot, 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 dot. Okay, and then we're going to go to a darker green and dot, dot, dot. And a bit more, so let's get a bit off our pan. So what I love about watercolours is that you can kind of do this for ages because it uses so little paint. Okay, so let's just soften that colour around there. Okay, now I'm going to let that set to one side and dry completely, and we'll come back to that in a minute. Now I'm going to pull off my foil and let's reveal our next little bit of foiling. So again, this is exactly the same, but this time, rather than using watercolour, let's show you the difference if we change to an ink. So we've got just a normal blending brush. Oh, hi mister. And tattered rose. Now, you're going to notice that when we go for inking, you're going to get much the same kind of effect. But what is really bizarre is if we were to switch to an oxide, it's actually going to have the opposite effect. So we can actually do a little bit of a play with bringing out different details just by changing the type of inks. But I thought it was good for you to be able to kind of see how our distress inks are going to react to foil too. So even if you don't have any watercolours, you can still do this technique. So I'm just going to anti-thin in now. And there we go. So if I hold that up, you can see it's resisted that. Okay, so let's say you've done that and then you want to go, actually, I just want to have that little bit in the section in the green. Then you could go to the oxide, and instead of getting that outline in white, you're going to get it in a darker shade of whatever ink you then apply, which is cool. So I've played with that on some samples before for DT work and stuff, so it's worth checking those out. So hopefully, while I've done that, this one is nearly dry. It's not quite as warm as I would have liked it today, because usually it's pretty quick, but I am just going to very quickly just pop this now. This is going to make it turn out a bit paler than what it would be if it was just left to air dry. So when you're doing this, you want to leave it a little bit longer, but basically so that when you tilt it, you're not seeing a sheen. Let's say it's still wet. Okay, so mine's looking okay. So I'm going to pop that back on my mat. And let's just change view. That one. Okay, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to do a background scan. So at this point, there's no fall on the mat, it's just the actual image. Trolley's in the way in, Let's try that one again. Okay. There we go. Let's sort you out. Okay. So, reassemble frame. There we go. Just let's make that the middle one half a bit. Right, let's try that again. So, because the trolley is in the way and there's no hope of me moving that while I'm live, so let's do a little bit of a trick. Where's me little doobie? What's it gone? It's probably staring at me. Okay. Press that down and let's move that across. I'm going to use my grid as a guide. So this is a bit more winging it because I'm having to kind of guess that positioning. So the top of the leaf is just above the 7-inch mark. That's more over there. If this is lined up, it's going to be a miracle, but hey hey. And then a little bit maybe. Let's try that. Okay, so I'm going to line my foil up over the top. And let's at least get my foil in a place where it's not going to be too much. So I think about there. There we go. I'm going to stick that down. Okay. Let's get my quill. So this is still a little bit warm. But basically, when you're using your quill, you don't want to be keeping it active for any longer than 15 minutes. So we have to do that cool down process in between. Okay. Can't believe I've lost my little stylus already. Oh dear, didn't last long. Okay. So, I think I might just nudge that bit over to the left. Let's use my little nudge arrows. Just looking at where it's lining up on that foil is about half an inch that way. So, okay, and let's just go for it. And there we go. So hopefully by next week everything should be in here and organised where it needs to be. Ian, you're not allowed to laugh. Okay, let me change view actually. There we go. So you can see that a little bit better. So yeah, there is a trolley just there behind that. So it's just the wrong place for this map. Hey ho. But normally what you would do is do that background scan so you get that fall exactly where you want it. So, any questions while that is boiling away? Because it got about 5 minutes to go. How accurate that 5 minutes is a bit hit and miss, but... So at this point we can start to see where we're heading. We're probably a little bit high, we probably could have dropped it down a little bit more, but hey, that'll give you the idea. Does mean I'm going to be able to show you another idea though, very quickly. So what do you guys think to the new kind of setup with just going to YouTube? There's going to be some more traditional art that's going to be appearing on the channel. So Lucy's still got to do a blog post from last week. But I'm also going to be introducing you to some new services for watercolour. That are going to be more sustainable. Too late? Oh, that's only not to laugh. That's a bit of a delay. That either took you a long time to write, or it's taken a long time to come through to Streamlabs, one or the other. Okay, so let's pop that out of there. The other thing to say is, if you are using the Real Memory Keepers USBs, I would advise you to put the design onto your mat and then remove the USB, just because they can get warm. Okay, so considering that my card is still slightly damp, let's go overhead so you can see this. Haven't got my remote working today either. There we go. You can see that we've got that kind of, almost looks like it's floating over the watercolour. So let's just do a little bit of tidying up, just so that we can sort out where the foil kind of went outside of our watercolour. So we've got some bits here that kind of extend. I'm just going to use a little brush and let's just kind of follow the detail on this one. So it's kind of a good way to get and do some detail work. Okay, I'm going to pick up a little bit of that dark green and just drop that in at the top and bottom of these leaves, and even the ones that we haven't just painted. Give that a little wash back out, and then we can just blend that back in. And that blending process is going to still allow that foil to shine back through as well. There we go. So, and we can do that to these leaves here where it's quite pale underneath, so we just want a bit more colour. So I'm just going to pick those out. I'm just going to pop a bit of the yellowy green just where our leaves have overlapped that orange. I didn't do too bad in terms of positioning if we'd have been able to do that background scan. Naughty trolley got in the way. But naughty trolley's falling apart, so don't really want to have to move it. It didn't appreciate the move in here at all. Okay, so I'm just going to pop a bit into these here as well, just to tone those in a bit. Okay, clean my brush, pick up a little bit more water. Now for this bit here, I'm just going to kind of pull in a bit more colour. So I already have a little bit of mango, but let's just add a little bit more to that. And I'm just going to add that to the tops of those petals. So that's going to help them kind of pop against that background. And if I just block my brush and then just drag that colour down, we're going to get much more of that resist popping back through. it starts not spreading off, just blot your brush. Okay. And I'm just going to pull some of that green in a bit more. A bit there, that bit more there. There. Dip again into kind of our yellowy green, and just use that to just blend that out. Like so. Blot my brush. You don't even have to worry about if you go outside the lines with this. It's quite forgiving, so you can just, because using these tiny amounts of pigment, it's quite easy to lift away if you need to. Okay, now for this bit over here, unfortunately it missed our little dandelion bit, so let's just redo that. So I want some of that brown. Pick up some of that green, drop that in there on the outside, and some of the bluey green underneath, like so. Blot brush and blend away. So start with your dark colour, because that's going to be the bit that sets on your foil kind of first, so we want to make sure that we're lifting that away. Okay, just make sure we blend that well. Okay, and just with a clean damp brush, just go round, 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 round. There we go. So we've got two different effects. So we've got the one where we've got that watercolour underneath our foil, and the one where the watercolour's over the top of the foil. And they do look quite different. Thanks, honey, and I'll see you later. So, there you go. So, we've got our ink version. So remember, with the oxides, it's going to reverse so that your foil is going to be darker than your background. And your watercolours, your graphic tints and your ink tints is going to act as a resist. Okay, now the only one I haven't tried yet to see what it will do is wash, because I think that might have a different reaction again. So that might be more like the oxide reaction, and that it has the opposite effect. So take care, and I hope you've enjoyed that little hour with me. Trying to think what's on the schedule for tomorrow. That's really bad. So Digital Friday tomorrow, and watch this space to see what's on the schedule. It'll probably be a blog, probably won't be a video, just because I'm still working on the video for the fabric one. If you haven't had a look at the blog I've written on the rotary blade, then do go and have a look. It's well worth having a look at and seeing if it might be something that you might enjoy doing. It's a bit of a departure from me, so I don't tend to show fabric stuff too much, but that's obviously going to be changing. So take care for now, and bye.